Ambassador Kim stood at the observation window of the Harmony Station, gazing at the stars scattered across the velvet darkness. Earth glowed blue and green in the distance, a reminder of humanity's birthplace. She adjusted her formal uniform, a simple navy blue affair with silver piping that identified her as Earth's representative to the Galactic Council. The notification chime broke her reverie. Ambassador, priority transmission from the Galactic Council, announced her AI companion, a small hovering sphere that emitted a soft blue light. "Put it through, Jin," she replied, turning toward the large screen on the wall. The screen flickered to life, revealing the imposing figure of Supreme Commander Krall of the Tekran hegemony. His insect-like body towered over the other council representatives, his exoskeleton gleaming under the council chamber lights. 4 compound eyes reflected the stars, and his mandibles clicked with barely contained agitation. Kim maintained her diplomatic smile, though she felt a flutter of excitement. This moment had been anticipated for generations. "Greetings, Supreme Commander," she said with a small bow. "To what do I owe the honor of this direct communication?" The Tekran's translator converted his clicks and hisses into the standard galactic language. "There is no honor here, human. I speak to inform you that the 3,000-year peace between our civilizations is now over." Kim raised an eyebrow, but said nothing, allowing the insectoid to continue. "Your primitive species has expanded beyond acceptable parameters," Krall chittered, his mandibles spreading wide in what the Tekrans considered a display of dominance. "Your recent colonization of the Epsilon sector violates the boundaries established in the Treaty of Proxima. Your refusal to acknowledge our superiority cannot be tolerated. Prepare for annihilation." Several of the other council representatives, visible in the background, shifted uncomfortably. The Vex ambassador, a being of living crystal, caught Kim's eye and gave a subtle shake of its crystalline structure, their equivalent of an apologetic shrug. Kim reached for her coffee cup, a relic from old Earth that she carried everywhere. The ceramic felt warm against her palm as she took a slow, deliberate sip. The action, so casual in the face of a formal declaration of war, clearly agitated the Tekran commander. His upper limbs twitched with annoyance. "I see," she finally said, her voice level, "and the Council's position on this unilateral breaking of the peace." The Tekran made a dismissive gesture with one clawed appendage. "The Council has been informed as a courtesy. This is between humans and Tekrans." Kim exchanged a glance with Jin, her AI companion. The small sphere pulsed once, indicating it was recording and analyzing everything. The Tekrans had finally made their move. For 3 millennia, humans had maintained the appearance of a moderately advanced species, carefully limiting what technologies they revealed to the galactic community. Behind this facade, humanity had been evolving, building, experimenting, and preparing. The Tekrans, with their rigid hierarchical society, had never accepted that humans, beings they considered physically inferior, could be their equals. They had merely tolerated humanity, waiting for an opportunity to assert dominance. "Your response, Ambassador," Krall demanded, his patience visibly thinning. "Do you require the standard diplomatic rejection, Ambassador Kim?" Jin asked quietly, its voice audible only to her. Kim's lips curved into a slight smile. "No," she replied, loud enough for the transmission to capture. "Tell them we accept their declaration." The council chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. The Tekran commander himself seemed taken aback, his compound eyes reflecting light in rapid patterns that indicated confusion. "You accept," he repeated. "That is correct, Commander Krall," Kim said, setting down her coffee cup with deliberate slowness. "Humanity accepts your declaration of war." She turned to her eye. "Jin, inform the defense grid to activate Protocol Pandora. Authentication Kim 7 Delta Omega." Jin pulsed bright blue. "Protocol Pandora activated. Defense grid acknowledging." Across the screen, the representatives of a dozen alien species watched in bewilderment. War was rarely accepted so casually, especially by a species that had always advocated for peaceful solutions. "You mock us, human," Krall hissed, his mandibles clicking rapidly. "Your orbital defenses are minimal. Your fleet is outdated. Your colonies are vulnerable. You have no chance against the might of the Tekran armée." Kim smiled more broadly now. "Then I suppose you have nothing to worry about, Commander." As the words left her mouth, a notification appeared on every communication device linked to human networks across the galaxy. The message was simple: Protocol Pandora active. Stay calm. Continue normal activities. Across human space, from the crowded megacities of Earth to the newest settlements in the Epsilon sector. The message spread, and with it came not panic, not fear, but laughter. It started as chuckles in coffee shops on Mars, grew to giggles in the research stations of Europa, blossomed into full-belly laughs in the mining colonies of the asteroid belt. On a small farming colony at the edge of human space, a grandfather read the notification to his grandchildren. They looked up at him with wide eyes. "Are we in danger, Grandpa?" the youngest asked. The old man smiled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "No, little one. This is what we've been waiting for. The day the mask comes off." In universities, professors paused their lectures as students received the notification. In one quantum physics class at New Oxford, the professor closed her book and said simply, "It seems today's theoretical discussion about dimensional manipulation will become rather practical sooner than expected." The class erupted in knowing laughter. In military installations, hidden within gas giants and nestled inside hollowed moons, personnel who had trained for generations without ever expecting to see actual combat roused ancient systems from their slumber. Technology that had been refined over millennia, beyond anything the galactic community could imagine, hummed to life. Back on Harmony Station, Ambassador Kim watched the Tekran commander's confusion with quiet satisfaction. "You will regret this arrogance," Krall threatened, his voice carrying less conviction than before. "Perhaps," Kim replied. "But I doubt it." She gave him a respectful nod. "We will be ready to receive your forces when they arrive, Commander. Until then, I wish you safe travels among the stars." She signaled Jin to end the transmission. As the screen went dark, she picked up her coffee cup again and returned to the observation window. "And so it begins," she whispered to the distant Earth, as the first reports of laughter spreading across human colonies reached Harmony Station. The massive Tekran flagship, Inevitable Dominance, cut through the darkness of space at the head of the largest battle fleet assembled in the past 5 centuries. 1,000 ships strong, their hulls gleaming with the dull metallic sheen of living metal, they emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Admiral Mock stood on the command deck, his tall insectoid form towering over the crew of lesser Tekrans who scurried about their duties. His carapace, decorated with the gold markings of his high rank, reflected the soft blue light of the tactical displays. "Status report," he ordered, his mandibles clicking softly. "All ships have successfully emerged from hyperspace," Admiral reported his second-in-command. "No detection of human defensive measures. Their orbital platforms are visible but inactive. We detect only a small number of outdated military vessels in orbit around their 4th planet." Mock's compound eyes shifted, taking in the tactical display. The intelligence reports had been correct. Despite 3 days' warning, the humans had made no significant defensive preparations. Their homeworld, the blue-green planet called Earth, should be visible just ahead, a prime target for the first demonstration of Tekran power. "Proceed as planned," Mock ordered. "Move the fleet into position around the human homeworld. Prepare the orbital bombardment sequence as discussed." The great ships moved forward in perfect formation, their engines leaving trails of ionized particles as they accelerated toward where Earth should be. "Admiral," called the sensor officer, his voice rising with confusion. "I'm getting strange readings from the 3rd orbital position." "Explain," Mock demanded. "The planet. It's not there." Mock's head swiveled sharply. "What nonsense is this? Check your equipment." All systems functioning correctly, Admiral, the officer insisted, his antenna twitching nervously. The moon is present and orbiting as expected, but the planet itself is gone. Mock strode to the main view screen, his clawed feet clicking against the polished floor. The screen showed exactly what the sensors reported, the empty space where Earth should be, with the moon continuing its lonely orbit around a missing center. Impossible, Mock muttered, his mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. A planet cannot vanish. He turned to his science officer. Scan the entire system. They must have deployed some sort of cloaking technology. The science officer worked frantically at his console. No evidence of cloaking technology, Admiral. No gravitational signature where the planet should be. By all measurements, Earth has simply disappeared. A heavy silence fell over the bridge, broken only by the soft hum of the ship's systems. The Tekran military had prepared for many possible human defenses. Primitive energy shields, perhaps, or desperate suicide attacks. But not this. Never this. Could our intelligence have been so wrong? Mock wondered aloud. Could they have evacuated their entire planet? Before anyone could respond, every console on the bridge lit up with warning indicators. Admiral, the tactical officer called out. We're being scanned by an unknown energy signature. It's penetrating all our shields as if they weren't there. Mock's claws tightened on the railing before him. Activate countermeasures. Raise all defensive. His words died in his throat as a swirl of light appeared in the center of the bridge. The light expanded, forming into the holographic image of a human female. Unlike the crude holograms used throughout the galaxy, this projection appeared solid, with perfect detail, from the small lines around her eyes to the subtle movement of her clothing. The human wore a simple dark uniform with no visible rank insignia. She looked around the bridge with an expression of interest, as if examining specimens in a laboratory. "Welcome to Sol," she said cheerfully, her voice as clear as if she were physically present. "I see you're looking for Earth. I'm afraid we moved it." Mock's mandibles clicked in disbelief. Moved? A planet? The words sounded ridiculous even as he spoke them. No civilization in the known galaxy had the technology to relocate an entire planet. The human woman smiled, that peculiar expression that Tekrans had never fully understood. "Just a precaution. We've been expecting you for quite some time." Mock regained his composure, drawing himself up to his full imposing height. "I am Admiral Mock of the Tekran hegemony. Your deception will not save you. Produce your planet and surrender, and perhaps some of your species will be spared." The woman's expression didn't change. "I am Commander Song, Earth Defense Force. By the way, those unusual energy readings your sensors are detecting around your fleet, that's our gravitic fold network. You're currently suspended in a time dilation field." As if to prove her point, she gestured toward the bridge window. Outside, the stars seemed frozen, their light unnaturally steady. A small piece of debris that had been floating past hung motionless in space. "While this conversation takes place in real time for us," Song continued, "for the rest of the galaxy, it's been approximately 3 seconds since your arrival." Mock felt a cold sensation run through his body, an instinctive fear he had never experienced in battle. "This is impossible. Such technology violates fundamental laws of physics." Song tilted her head slightly. "According to whose physics, Admiral?" "The understanding shared by the Galactic Council." She made a dismissive gesture. "That's like judging all mathematics based on what's taught to children." A junior officer approached Mock, his movements hesitant. "Admiral, sensors confirm her claim. We appear to be in some sort of temporal bubble. And there's more." "Report," Mock demanded, not taking his eyes off the human hologram. "Small devices have appeared throughout the ship. They're scanning our systems, but our countermeasures have no effect on them." Commander Song nodded. "Just gathering some data. Don't mind those." Mock's patience broke. "Enough of these tricks. Where is your planet? What defense can you possibly mount against 1,000 warships?" Som's expression became more serious. Admiral Mock, I'm going to be direct. Humanity has spent 3,000 years preparing for this moment. What you're witnessing is just the beginning of what we can do. The question isn't whether you can defeat us. The question is whether we can find a peaceful resolution before things get unpleasant. Mock's tactical officer called out, Admiral, we're detecting a massive energy buildup from the human moon. On the main screen, the seemingly barren moon's surface was changing. Sections were sliding open, revealing massive structures beneath. Lights flickered across its surface as dormant systems awakened. That would be our lunar defense platform, Song explained casually. One of our older installations, actually. We kept it as a backup. The science officer's voice shook as he reported, the energy readings, they're beyond anything in our records. Admiral, if those are weapons. Song raised her hand. We don't have to demonstrate, Admiral. Not today. Take your fleet and return to Tekran space. Tell your leaders what you've seen. Tell them Earth is willing to negotiate a new peace, as equals this time. Mock stood silent, his mind racing. The human smiled again, seeming to read his thoughts. Or stay, she said softly, and learn firsthand why humans laughed when you declared war. Admiral Mock sat alone in his private chamber aboard the Tekran flagship. The room was dark except for the blue glow of multiple screens floating in the air before him. His four clawed hands moved rapidly over the controls, cycling through the data that the mysterious human devices had uploaded to his ship's computer. He had ordered the fleet to maintain position while he reviewed the information. 6 hours had passed, and with each new file, each new revelation, the cold feeling in his thorax grew stronger. The first files showed weapon systems unlike anything the Tekran had imagined. Not simply more powerful versions of known technology, but entirely new approaches to warfare. Mock watched footage of a small human vessel absorbing the energy from a test blast that should have vaporized a small moon. The energy simply disappeared into the ship's hull, which glowed briefly before returning to normal. Another file showed a demonstration of their shield technology, not the energy barriers all advanced races used, but something the humans called dimensional folding. Incoming attacks didn't hit a barrier. They simply disappeared into what appeared to be small tears in space itself, emerging somewhere else entirely. Impossible, Mock whispered, his mandibles clicking softly in distress. He moved to communications data. The humans had developed quantum entanglement networks that operated instantly across any distance without any possibility of interception or jamming. The Tekran's most advanced communication systems, pride of their military, were primitive by comparison. But what truly shook him were the energy production files. The humans had built Dyson swarms, vast networks of satellites capturing the entire energy output of stars around multiple suns in hidden systems. The energy available to them made the combined output of the entire Tekran hegemony look like a child's power cell. Mock's first officer entered the chamber after a respectful knock. Admiral, the fleet commanders are requesting instructions. The crew is becoming unsettled. Mock gestured to the screens. Have you reviewed this data? Yes, Admiral. The science division believes it must be fabricated. Such technology violates too many known physical laws. Mock clicked his mandibles in annoyance. It is not fabricated. They moved a planet, Subcommander. They stopped time around our fleet. These are not tricks. His officer lowered his head submissively but persisted. Even if some of it is real, surely not all of it can be. The biological modifications they claim to have made. Show me your arm, Mock interrupted. Confused, the officer extended his upper right arm. Mock pressed a control, and one of the small scanning devices the humans had placed on the ship hovered over to them. It emitted a soft blue light that passed over the officer's arm. A new screen appeared showing a detailed internal view of the limb. But it showed more than just the expected biological structures. Tiny machines were visible, moving through the officer's circulatory system. What is this? The officer asked, his voice rising in alarm. According to the human data, they are medical nanobots. Millions of them, introduced into our systems when we entered the time dilation field. They are currently dormant, simply mapping our biology. The officer staggered back. They're inside all of us. Yes, and according to this, Mock gestured to another screen showing a human body with similar machines visible throughout. They have lived with such technology for centuries. Their bodies repair themselves. They don't age as we do. Disease is unknown to them. The officer's antenna drooped in shock. This cannot be. Before Mock could respond, the main communication console chimed. The small scanning device returned to its position near the ceiling. Admiral, the communications officer's voice came through. We're receiving a new transmission from the humans. Display it, Mock ordered. The information screens vanished, replaced by a single larger image. An older human male appeared, his face marked with lines that suggested great age, though his posture remained straight and strong. His eyes were what struck Mock most. They seemed to hold a depth that spoke of centuries of experience. Admiral Mock, I am Park, Human Defense Coordinator. I hope you've had sufficient time to review the information we provided. Mock straightened his posture, determined to maintain dignity despite his growing dread. I have reviewed it. Much of it seems difficult to believe. The human named Park nodded. I understand. It must seem like deception or exaggeration. But I assure you, if anything, we've understated our capabilities in that data package. Why reveal this now? Mock asked. If your kind has possessed such power for so long, why maintain the charade of being merely moderately advanced? Park's expression softened slightly. We've maintained the illusion of modest progress because we learned long ago that true power lies in restraint. 3,000 years ago, we nearly destroyed ourselves. We vowed never again to wage war among our own kind, but we also vowed never again to be unprepared. The human paused, allowing Mock to absorb his words. Our history is filled with empires that displayed their strength too proudly, only to become targets. We chose a different path. We watched, we learned, we built, all while presenting ourselves as just another developing species. Mock felt his pride giving way to a more primal emotion. Fear. The nanomachines in our bodies. Are they weapons? No, Park replied firmly. They are currently passive observers. We do not attack without warning or provocation. Had we wished to harm you, Admiral, your fleet would not exist now. The human's directness was unsettling. In Tekran culture, power was always flaunted, threats always made explicit to intimidate. This calm statement of fact was somehow more frightening. I will show you one more thing, Admiral, something not included in the data package, Park said. The image shifted, showing what appeared to be a massive construction in space. It took Mock a moment to recognize it as Earth, the missing planet, but surrounded by an enormous lattice of interconnected structures. This is Earth now, in its new position in a pocket dimension adjacent to normal space. What you're seeing is the planetary defense grid, just one layer of our protection. It represents technology we developed over 1,000 years ago. The image zoomed out further, revealing similar structures around other planets and moons, an entire solar system protected by technology beyond comprehension. We did not build this because we wanted war, Admiral. We built it because we understood that peace must sometimes be defended. Mock slumped slightly in his seat. What do you want from us? Nothing you don't wish to give freely, Park answered. Return to your people. Tell them what you've seen. Let them know that humans desire peaceful coexistence, trade, cultural exchange, but will not tolerate aggression. The human's expression became firmer. The 3,000-year peace doesn't need to end, Admiral. It can be renewed, on more honest terms. As the transmission ended, Mock stared at the empty space where the human's image had been. After several minutes of silence, he turned to his first officer. Prepare the fleet for return to Tekran space, he ordered quietly. Without engaging the humans, without attempting to locate their planet. The officer asked, his mandibles clicking in confusion. Mach looked at him steadily. "We have already lost this war. We simply didn't know it until today." The grand chamber of the Techran High Command echoed with the angry clicks and hisses of the 12 highest commanders. Their massive insectoid forms loomed around the circular table, their carapaces gleaming with rank insignias and battle decorations. Admiral Mach stood in the center, his posture rigid despite his exhaustion. Deception. Supreme Commander Vrax slammed his clawed appendage on the table. "You believe the tricks of soft-skinned mammals over the might of the Techran hegemony." Mach had spent 3 days presenting his evidence, the data from the human ships, the recordings of Earth's disappearance, the demonstrations of technology that defied Techran understanding. "Supreme Commander, with respect, I witnessed these things myself," Mach insisted. "The humans have technology far beyond our own. They moved their planet. They stopped time around our fleet. They placed nanomachines in our bodies without our knowledge." "Illusions," another commander chittered. "Psychological warfare designed to make us retreat without a fight." Mach's antenna drooped slightly in frustration. The Techran military mind was not built to accept defeat without battle. In 3,000 years of peace, they had forgotten the wisdom of their ancestors. Never underestimate an unknown enemy. "The humans returned our fleet intact as a gesture of peace," Mach tried again. "They could have destroyed us." Supreme Commander Vrax rose to his full height, towering over Mach. "Enough. We have heard your cowardly report. You will be removed from command pending investigation for possible human manipulation." Vrax turned to the other commanders. "The plan proceeds. The first strike fleet will attack the human mining colony in Ta City. A simple target, minimal defenses. We will show these humans what real warfare looks like." As guards escorted Mach from the chamber, he felt a cold certainty settle in his thorax. The Techran hegemony had just signed its own death warrant. On New Haven, a human mining colony in the Ta City system, the day began like any other. Workers headed to the massive excavation pits that dotted the rocky planet's surface. Children attended school in the central dome. Merchants opened their shops in the underground market tunnels. Shin, a maintenance technician for atmospheric processors, climbed out of an access shaft and wiped sweat from his brow. His communication device chimed with a message from his wife. "Don't forget we're meeting Han and you for dinner tonight, 19 o'clock at the Garden Dome." He smiled and sent a quick confirmation. As he packed his tools, a notification appeared on his device. "Protocol Pandora. Level 2 activation. Continue normal activities." Shin paused, then calmly finished packing. Around him, other workers received the same message. Some exchanged knowing glances. A few smiled. But everyone continued working. No alarms sounded. No emergency announcements blared from the colony speakers. No evacuation orders were issued. On the surface, nothing changed. In orbit around New Haven, automated sensors detected the arrival of the Techran First Strike Fleet. 3,000 warships emerged from hyperspace, their weapon systems immediately powering up. The fleet spread into an attack formation, surrounding the small planet. On the flagship's bridge, Fleet Commander Zach studied the tactical display with satisfaction. The human colony had a minimal orbital defense system, a few outdated platforms that his ships could destroy in seconds. "Begin the attack," he ordered. "Target their orbital defenses first, then the major population centers." Weapons officers activated targeting systems. Energy cannons charge. Missile bays opened. "All weapons locked on target, Commander," the tactical officer reported. "Fire," Zax commanded. Across the Techran fleet, weapons discharge. Brilliant beams of energy lanced toward the planet. Missiles streaked through space, their engines flaring bright against the blackness. Then, without warning, everything stopped. The energy beams froze in space, hanging like bright threads connecting the Techran ships to their targets. The missiles halted mid-flight, their propulsion flames frozen in place. On the bridges of every Techran vessel, officers found themselves unable to move, suspended between one moment and the next. Only their minds remained active, aware of their paralysis but unable to respond to it. On every screen across the fleet, a human woman's face appeared, the same woman Admiral Mock had encountered in the Sol system. "Greetings, Tekran forces. I am Commander Lee of Earth Defense Force." Her expression showed no anger, only a kind of patient disappointment. "We tried to warn you through Admiral Mock. We provided evidence of our technological capabilities. We offered peace." Fleet Commander Zax could only watch, his body frozen in place, his mandibles locked mid-click. "Now, I believe a demonstration is in order," Commander Lee continued. She looked down, as if consulting something off-screen. "You've brought 3,027 ships carrying approximately 6 million Tekran military personnel. You've targeted a civilian mining colony with a population of 20,000, including 6,000 children." She looked back up, her eyes now hard. This is not acceptable behavior among civilized species. With a casual gesture, she reached toward the screen as if to touch something on the other side. The impossible happened. Her hand seemed to pass through the screen itself, reaching into the space of the Tekran bridge. Across every ship in the fleet, warning alarms suddenly blared. Weapon systems registered critical failures. Power cores fluctuated wildly. "What you're experiencing now," Lee explained calmly, her hand still seemingly inside the ship's reality, "is the selective disintegration of your offensive capabilities. Your energy weapons are being reduced to their component particles. Your missiles are being neutralized. Your targeting systems are being erased." Her hand withdrew back through the screen. "Your life support systems remain untouched. Your engines remain functional. Your communication systems remain operational." The time stoppage ended as suddenly as it had begun. Tekran officers stumbled as movement returned. On the flagship's bridge, Commander Zax nearly fell, catching himself on a nearby console. "Damage report," he shouted, regaining his balance. "Commander," the weapons officer's voice shook. "All weapons are gone. Not damaged, gone. The physical structures have disappeared from the ships. Impossible." Zax rushed to the officer's station, pushing him aside to see the readings himself. The screens showed exactly what the officer had reported. Where massive energy cannons had been mounted, there was now only empty space. Missile bays stood open and empty. Even the smallest personal weapons had vanished from their storage lockers. On the main screen, Commander Lee continued speaking. "Your fleet has been neutralized without harming a single Tekran life. You are now unable to attack, but fully able to return home." She leaned closer to the screen. "This is perhaps the smallest demonstration we could arrange of human defensive capabilities. Admiral Mock tried to warn your leadership. They chose not to listen." The human's face was replaced by images of human warships, vessels that had not been detected by any Tekran sensor. They were unlike any ship Zax had ever seen, their designs flowing and organic rather than angular and armored. They moved with impossible grace, surrounding the Tekran fleet completely. "These vessels have been here since before your arrival," Lee's voice explained over the images. "They could have destroyed your fleet the moment you entered the system. They chose not to." The screen split to show the mining colony below. Workers continued their tasks. Children played in park domes. No one was panicking. No one was even looking up. "Our citizens continue their normal lives," Lee said, her face reappearing. "They know the Protocol Pandora is active. They trust in our defenses. They do not fear you." Commander Zax sank into his command chair, his exoskeleton clicking softly as the truth sank in. The much-feared First Strike Fleet, pride of the Tekran hegemony, had been rendered harmless without a single shot fired in defense. Lee's expression softened slightly. "Return to your homeworld, Commander. Tell your leaders what happened here today. Tell them that humans still desire peace, but we will not be threatened again." The screens went dark. Across the bridge, officers looked to Zax for orders. After a long silence, he rose from his chair. "Set course for Tekran Prime," he ordered quietly. "We're going home." As the fleet turned away from the human colony, on the planet below, Shin received another message from his wife. "Don't forget to pick up dessert on your way home." He smiled and continued his work, glancing briefly at the sky where the Tekran fleet was now just tiny points of light retreating into the distance. The neutral space station, Harmony Point, floated at the precise center of territories claimed by the 5 major galactic powers. Built by the peaceful Vondari 1,000 years ago, its gleaming white halls had hosted countless peace talks and trade negotiations. Never before had it hosted a meeting quite like this one. Representatives from 27 species sat around the massive circular table in the grand chamber. Some were humanoid, others insectoid like the Tekrans, while still others took forms that defied easy description. Crystalline structures, gaseous clouds contained in specialized suits, and beings of living light. Supreme Commander Vrax of the Tekran hegemony sat rigidly in his place, his once proud posture now stiff with humiliation. The loss of the first strike fleet without a single shot fired in battle had shaken the Tekran military to its core. Behind him stood Admiral Mok, reinstated after his warnings proved tragically accurate. "The humans have not yet arrived," announced the Vondari moderator, her melodious voice carrying easily through the chamber. "They have requested to send a single representative." The Drev ambassador, a being of living flame, flickered with agitation. "One representative. After what they've done. This is another insult." "It is practical," countered the Lumen counselor, her 6 eyes blinking in sequence. "If they wish to destroy us, they would not need to send anyone at all." A heavy silence fell over the gathering as the truth of these words sank in. 3 days of urgent communications between galactic powers had confirmed the extent of human technological superiority. The movement of Earth itself, the time manipulation fields, the disintegration of weapons without harming their wielders. Each demonstration had revealed capabilities that should not be possible. The massive doors at the far end of the chamber slid open. The gathered representatives tensed, expecting perhaps a display of power, a delegation of technologically enhanced superbeings, or at least a military escort. Instead, a single human male entered the chamber alone. He was elderly by human standards, with white hair and lined face. He walked with a slight stoop, using a simple wooden cane for support. He wore plain dark clothing with no visible technology, no weapons, not even the communication devices most species carried as a matter of course. The human walked slowly to the empty seat reserved for Earth. He settled into it with a small sigh, placed his cane against the table, and looked around at the gathered representatives with clear, calm eyes. "Greetings," he said simply, his voice carrying throughout the chamber without amplification. "I am Choi, historian and peace negotiator. I've come to answer your questions and, hopefully, alleviate your concerns." The chamber remained silent for several long moments. It was the Algaran Prime who finally spoke, its crystalline body vibrating with the frequencies that formed its speech. "How can we trust a species with such power?" the crystalline being asked, its structure flashing with colored light that indicated agitation. "What prevents you from conquering us all?" The human named Choi smiled gently. "The same thing that prevented us from destroying ourselves. Perspective." He folded his hands on the table before him. 3,000 years ago, we stood at the precipice of extinction, weapons pointed at our own hearts. Instead of falling, we stepped back. We chose a different path. "What path is that?" asked the representative of the Morven Collective, a hive mind that spoke through a humanoid host. "To deceive the galaxy, to hide your true nature for millennia." "To learn," Choi replied. "To understand ourselves before engaging fully with others. You see, 3,000 years ago, humanity nearly destroyed itself in a war fueled by fear, greed, and misunderstanding. We survived, but only barely." He reached into his pocket and withdrew a small device, placing it on the table. When activated, it projected a 3-dimensional image that hovered in the air for all to see, ruins of ancient human cities, wastelands created by weapons long abandoned. In the aftermath, we made two vows, Choi continued. First, that we would never again wage war among ourselves. Second, that we would never again be vulnerable to those who might wish us harm. The images shifted to show the rebuilding. Cities rising from ashes, new technologies developing, people working together across old boundaries. We realize that true power isn't in destruction, but in creation, Choi said. As we rebuilt, we advanced. As we healed our world, we discovered principles of physics your scientists have yet to explore. As we united our people, we found strength in cooperation rather than competition. Yet you hid this from us, Supreme Commander Vrax accused, his mandibles clicking in anger. You presented yourselves as merely another developing species. Choi nodded acknowledgement. We did. History taught us that revealing too much power too quickly often leads to conflict. Those who feel threatened may strike preemptively. Those who feel inferior may resent and sabotage. We chose a different approach, to grow quietly, to observe, to learn from all of you. He activated the projector again, this time showing images of human children playing, scientists working together, artists creating beautiful works. We laugh in the face of war, not from arrogance, but from the absurdity of it, Choi explained, his voice growing softer, compelling the representatives to lean forward to hear. We've had the capability to dominate the galaxy for over 2 millennia, yet we've chosen coexistence. We've watched your civilizations grow, sometimes helped quietly from the shadows, and rejoiced in your achievements. Helped? The Drev ambassador flickered. What do you mean? The cure for the Vondari plague 3 centuries ago. Choi smiled at the Vondari moderator. Human medical nanites, provided through intermediaries. The gravitational stabilizers that saved the Loman homeworld from its decaying orbit. Human technology, disguised as a fortunate discovery by local scientists. Murmurs spread through the chamber as representatives consulted records, confirming his claims. But why? Asked Admiral Mock, speaking for the first time. Why help in secret? Because help given openly creates dependency, Choi answered. Discoveries made for oneself create confidence and foster further innovation. We didn't want worshippers or subjects. We wanted equals, partners who would one day join us in exploring the true wonders of this universe. He stood slowly, leaning on his cane, his aged frame belying the power his species commanded. The question before us today is simple. Do we continue the peace that has lasted 3,000 years, or do we embark on a conflict that none of us, humans included, would benefit from? What are your terms? Supreme Commander Vrax demanded, his pride still struggling against reality. We have no terms, Choi replied. Only invitations, an invitation to true exchange of knowledge. Gradually, as your societies are ready to receive it. An invitation to partnership in exploring beyond the boundaries of known space. An invitation to join us in laughter at the absurdity of beings as small as ourselves fighting over a galaxy so vast. As if on cue, a soft sound began to fill the chamber. It started as a gentle whisper, but grew steadily. The sound of human laughter. Not mocking or threatening, but warm and genuine, transmitted from billions of humans across thousands of worlds. The sound surrounded the representatives, not from speakers, but seemingly from the air itself. Another demonstration of technology beyond their understanding, yet used not to intimidate but to connect. Some representatives shifted uncomfortably. Others found themselves inexplicably comforted by the sound. A few, including, surprisingly, Admiral Mock, felt their own forms of amusement rising in response. That, Choi said, gesturing to the laughter that filled the room, is humanity's true strength. Not our technology, not our weapons, but our ability to find joy even in the darkest moments. To see the absurd and embrace it. To face the unknown with curiosity rather than fear. He looked around the table, meeting the eyes, sensory organs, or awareness centers of each representative. We extend our hands in friendship. We offer our knowledge in partnership. We invite you to join us in building something greater than any single species could achieve alone. As the humans' words settled over the gathering, the laughter gradually faded, leaving a silence that felt not empty but full of possibility. In that moment, the